Hello. I've been practicing geriatric medicine for over 35 years, and today I want to share something that might surprise many of you. Throughout my decades of working with patients over 65, I've noticed a troubling pattern. Many seniors are unknowingly harming their health by consuming foods they believe are helping them. These aren't junk foods or obvious culprits. These are foods that have been marketed as healthy for so long that questioning them seems almost heretical. But here's the truth that we in geriatric medicine have learned. What works for a 30-year-old body doesn't necessarily work for a 70-year-old body. Your digestive system, metabolism, immune response, and nutritional needs undergo profound changes as you age. Today, I'm going to walk you through the specific foods that, despite their healthy reputation, can actually cause serious problems for seniors. Raw vegetable salads. The unexpected digestive challenge. I know this sounds counterintuitive. For your entire adult life, you've been told that raw vegetables are the pinnacle of healthy eating. Nutritionists praise them, diet books celebrate them, and health magazines feature them on every cover. But let me explain what happens in your digestive system after 65 that changes this equation entirely. As we age, our digestive system undergoes significant changes that most people aren't aware of. First, stomach acid production decreases dramatically. By age 65, many people are producing 40 to 50% less hydrochloric acid than they did in their youth. This acid is crucial for breaking down food, especially tough plant fibers. Second, your pancreas produces fewer digestive enzymes, the specialized proteins that break down carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Third, the muscular contractions in your intestines, called peristalsis, slow down considerably, meaning food moves through your system much more slowly. Now, add raw vegetables into this equation. Raw vegetables are packed with cellulose, a type of fiber that's extremely difficult to digest even for young, healthy digestive systems. For seniors with reduced stomach acid, fewer enzymes, and slower gut motility, these raw vegetables can sit in the digestive tract for extended periods, fermenting and producing excessive gas, bloating, and discomfort. Let me share a case that perfectly illustrates this. Margaret, a 68-year-old former teacher, came to my office complaining of severe abdominal bloating, gas pains, and irregular bowel movements. She had been to 3 different doctors and tried various medications with no success. When I reviewed her diet diary, I discovered she was eating large raw vegetable salads twice daily, lunch and dinner. She was consuming raw broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, carrots, and bell peppers, believing this was the healthiest choice possible. I explained the digestive challenges and suggested she switch to lightly steamed or roasted vegetables for 2 weeks as a trial. Margaret was skeptical. She'd been eating raw vegetables for 40 years without problems. But she agreed to try. Within 1 week, her bloating decreased by 50%. Within 3 weeks, her digestive issues had almost completely resolved. She couldn't believe something so healthy had been causing such distress. But there's another critical concern: choking risk. As we age, our swallowing reflex weakens due to changes in the muscles and nerves involved in swallowing, a condition called presbyphagia. Raw vegetables, particularly hard ones like carrots, celery, and broccoli stems, present a significant choking hazard. According to data from emergency departments, food-related choking incidents increase dramatically after age 65, and hard raw vegetables are among the top culprits. I've personally treated 2 patients in the emergency department who had pieces of raw carrot lodged in their airways. One case was particularly serious: a 72-year-old man who lost consciousness before the Heimlich maneuver successfully dislodged the food. These aren't rare occurrences. They happen more frequently than most people realize. Additionally, some raw vegetables contain compounds that can actually be problematic for seniors. Raw cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, and kale contain goitrogens, substances that can interfere with thyroid function. While cooking largely deactivates these compounds, consuming them raw in large quantities can suppress thyroid hormone production, particularly concerning since hypothyroidism is already common in older adults. The solution isn't to eliminate vegetables. They're crucial for health at any age. The solution is preparation method. Steaming, roasting, or lightly sautéing vegetables makes them exponentially easier to digest, while actually increasing the bioavailability of certain nutrients, like lycopene in tomatoes and beta-carotene in carrots. You get more nutrition with less digestive stress. Whole grain bread and high-fiber cereals. When too much fiber backfires. The dietary guidelines have been clear for decades. Eat more fiber, choose whole grains, avoid refined carbohydrates. This advice has created a generation of health-conscious seniors who consume high-fiber cereals for breakfast, whole grain bread with every meal, and fiber-enriched snacks throughout the day. But what the general guidelines don't tell you is that after 65, excessive fiber can actually create more problems than it solves. Let me explain the physiology. Dietary fiber is indigestible plant material that adds bulk to stool and, in appropriate amounts, helps maintain regular bowel movements. However, fiber requires adequate water intake to work properly. As we age, our thirst sensation diminishes significantly. It's a well-documented phenomenon called hypodipsia. Many seniors are chronically mildly dehydrated without realizing it. When you combine high fiber intake with insufficient fluid consumption, the fiber actually absorbs water from the intestinal tract, leading to hard, difficult-to-pass stools and worsening constipation, rather than relieving it. I had a patient named Robert, a 74-year-old retired engineer who was consuming approximately 50 grams of fiber daily, well above the recommended amount even for younger adults. He ate high-fiber cereal with added wheat bran for breakfast, whole grain bread at lunch, and brown rice or quinoa with dinner, plus fiber supplements before bed because he was experiencing constipation. He thought more fiber would solve the problem. Instead, his constipation became so severe he developed hemorrhoids and eventually a painful anal fissure. When I reviewed his fluid intake, he was drinking less than 4 cups of liquid daily. Far too little for his fiber consumption. We reduced his fiber to about 25 grams per day and increased his fluid intake to 8 to 10 cups daily. Within 2 weeks, his bowel movements normalized. Within 6 weeks, his hemorrhoids and fissure had healed. He couldn't believe that eating less healthy actually made him healthier. But the problems with excessive whole grain consumption go beyond constipation. Whole grains contain phytic acid, a compound that binds to minerals like calcium, iron, zinc, and magnesium, preventing their absorption in the intestine. This is called an anti-nutrient effect. For younger people with robust mineral stores and efficient absorption, this isn't a major concern. But for seniors who already experience decreased nutrient absorption due to reduced stomach acid and changes in intestinal lining, phytic acid can contribute to deficiencies in critical minerals. Calcium deficiency is particularly concerning for older adults because of osteoporosis risk. When you consume high amounts of phytic acid from whole grains, you're potentially blocking the absorption of calcium from other foods in that meal. I've seen patients who were taking calcium supplements and eating dairy products but still developing osteopenia because their high whole grain intake was preventing calcium absorption. Iron deficiency is another issue. Many seniors, particularly women, already have low iron stores. The iron in plant foods, non-heme iron, is much less bioavailable than iron from meat, heme iron, and phytic acid makes it even harder to absorb. I've treated several elderly patients with unexplained iron deficiency anemia, where reducing whole grain intake and increasing easily absorbed iron sources helped resolve the anemia without iron supplements. There's also the medication interaction issue. Fiber can interfere with the absorption of numerous medications commonly prescribed to seniors. I discovered this dramatically with a patient named Eleanor, a 70-year-old woman with type 2 diabetes and hypertension. Despite being compliant with her medications, her blood sugar and blood pressure were poorly controlled. Her medications included metformin for diabetes and an ACE inhibitor for blood pressure. When I carefully timed her medication administration relative to her high-fiber meals, we discovered the fiber was binding to her medications and carrying them through her system before they could be absorbed. We adjusted her medication timing to take them at least 2 hours before or after high-fiber meals, and suddenly her blood sugar and blood pressure came under control without changing medication doses. The same issue occurs with thyroid medications, levothyroxine, cholesterol medications, statins, and even some antibiotics. High-fiber foods can significantly reduce the effectiveness of these drugs if taken together. I'm not suggesting seniors avoid whole grains and fiber entirely. That would be equally problematic. The key is moderation and balance. For most seniors, 20 to 25 grams of fiber daily is optimal, accompanied by at least 8 to 10 cups of fluid. This provides the benefits of fiber without the complications of excess. And importantly, medications should be taken at least 1 to 2 hours away from high-fiber meals. Grapefruit, the hidden drug interaction. Danger grapefruit has been celebrated as a superfood for generations. It's packed with vitamin C, contains beneficial antioxidants, is low in calories, and has a refreshing taste. Many health-conscious seniors include grapefruit or grapefruit juice in their daily routine. What they don't realize is that grapefruit can turn common medications into potential toxins. This isn't an exaggeration or fear-mongering. It's a well-documented pharmaceutical interaction that sends thousands of seniors to the hospital every year. Let me explain the mechanism, because understanding how this works will help you appreciate why this seemingly innocent fruit can be so dangerous. Your liver contains an enzyme system called cytochrome P450, with one particular enzyme, CYP3A4, being responsible for metabolizing approximately 50% of all medications. This enzyme breaks down drugs at a certain rate, which is how pharmaceutical companies determine the correct dosage. When you take a medication, the dosage is calibrated, assuming your CYP3A4 enzyme is working normally. Grapefruit contains compounds called furanocoumarins, which irreversibly block the CYP3A4 enzyme. When this enzyme is blocked, medications that are normally broken down by it instead accumulate in your bloodstream at much higher concentrations than intended, sometimes 3 to 5 times higher. This essentially turns a normal therapeutic dose into a toxic overdose. The problem is particularly severe for seniors because the CYP3A4 enzyme activity already decreases with age. Add grapefruit to an already reduced enzyme activity, and you have a serious problem. Moreover, the effect isn't brief. It can last 24 hours or longer, meaning you can't simply separate your grapefruit consumption from your medication by a few hours. Let me share a dramatic case. Patricia, a 69-year-old woman, had been taking a statin medication, simvastatin, for cholesterol control for years without problems. She decided to start a healthy eating routine and began drinking a large glass of grapefruit juice every morning with breakfast, which is when she took her medications. Within 3 weeks, she developed severe muscle pain, weakness, and dark urine. Blood tests showed her creatine kinase levels, an enzyme that indicates muscle breakdown, were 50 times the normal level. She had developed rhabdomyolysis, a condition where muscle tissue breaks down and releases proteins into the blood that can cause kidney failure. Patricia was hospitalized, received intravenous fluids, and her statin was discontinued immediately. She was lucky. Her kidneys didn't fail, and after several weeks, her muscle enzymes returned to normal. But she was shocked to learn that something as innocent as grapefruit juice had caused such a serious condition. She had no idea there was any risk. The insidious aspect of this interaction is that it doesn't necessarily cause immediate, obvious symptoms. You might not notice anything wrong for weeks or months, while medication levels gradually build up in your system. By the time symptoms appear, significant damage may have already occurred. I recommend that any senior taking regular medications completely avoid grapefruit and grapefruit juice. It's simply not worth the risk, no matter how healthy the fruit might otherwise be. There are plenty of other citrus fruits, oranges, tangerines, lemons, limes, that don't have these interactions and provide similar nutritional benefits. If you love grapefruit and don't want to give it up, you must have a detailed conversation with your doctor or pharmacist about every medication you take, including over-the-counter drugs and supplements. But honestly, in my professional opinion, the safest approach is complete avoidance after age 65, if you're taking any medications at all. Fat-free and low-fat products, the paradox of missing nutrients. The low-fat diet movement that began in the 1980s created an entire industry of fat-free and low-fat products. Many seniors, having lived through decades of fat is bad messaging, exclusively choose fat-free dairy products, low-fat salad dressings, and fat-free desserts, believing they're making the healthiest choices. But this approach creates a significant problem for aging bodies. You cannot absorb certain essential vitamins without dietary fat. Vitamins A, D, E, and K are fat-soluble, meaning they require fat to be absorbed in your intestine. When you consume a completely fat-free meal containing these vitamins, you essentially excrete them unabsorbed. This is particularly problematic for seniors because vitamin absorption efficiency already decreases with age due to changes in digestive enzyme production and intestinal function. Let me focus on vitamin D because the deficiency epidemic I see in seniors is truly alarming. Vitamin D is crucial for bone health, immune function, muscle strength, mood regulation, and even cardiovascular health. After age 65, your skin's ability to synthesize vitamin D from sunlight decreases by about 75%. Your kidneys also become less efficient at converting vitamin D to its active form. This means seniors are already at high risk for deficiency even before dietary factors come into play. Now, consider a senior who drinks fat-free milk, eats fat-free yogurt, and uses fat-free cheese, all products that are fortified with vitamin D. The vitamin D is there, but without fat accompanying it, the absorption is minimal. I've tested vitamin D levels in hundreds of patients who consume these products regularly, and the majority are severely deficient despite technically consuming adequate amounts. I had a patient, Dorothy, an 81-year-old woman who suffered 3 fractures in 2 years, a wrist fracture from a minor fall, a rib fracture from coughing, and a compression fracture in her spine. She was devastated and frightened, convinced she had severe osteoporosis. Her bone density scan did show osteoporosis, but her vitamin D level was shockingly low, only 12 nanograms per milliliter, when optimal levels are 40 to 60 nanograms per milliliter. When I reviewed her diet, I discovered she consumed 3 servings of fat-free dairy daily, took a calcium supplement, and spent time outdoors regularly. She was doing everything right according to conventional wisdom. but she was absorbing almost no vitamin D because she wasn't consuming any fat with her dairy products. We made a simple change. She switched to whole-fat dairy products and added a tablespoon of olive oil to her daily salad. Within 3 months, her vitamin D level rose to 45 nanograms per milliliter without any supplements. 6 months later, her bone density showed measurable improvement. She avoided what might have been many more fractures simply by adding healthy fats back into her diet. The same principle applies to vitamin E, important for immune function and cognitive health. Vitamin A, crucial for vision, immune function, and skin health, and vitamin K, essential for both bone health and blood clotting regulation. All require fat for absorption. There's another major issue with fat-free products. To make them palatable, manufacturers typically add sugar, artificial sweeteners, or other additives. Fat-free yogurt, for example, often contains twice as much sugar as full-fat versions. I've seen numerous diabetic patients whose blood sugar control improved significantly when they switched from fat-free sweetened yogurt to full-fat, unsweetened Greek yogurt. Additionally, healthy fats are crucial for brain health in seniors. Your brain is approximately 60% fat, and omega-3 fatty acids from sources like fatty fish, walnuts, and flaxseed are essential for maintaining cognitive function, reducing inflammation, and potentially lowering dementia risk. A fat-phobic diet starves your brain of the nutrients it needs. Dietary fats also increase satiety, the feeling of fullness and satisfaction after eating. Fat-free diets often leave people feeling hungry, leading to overeating carbohydrates and potentially causing weight gain despite consuming low-fat foods. I've watched patients actually lose weight after adding healthy fats back to their diets because they felt more satisfied and stopped constant snacking. The key message is, don't fear fat after 65. Fear the wrong fats, trans fats, and excessive saturated fats from processed foods, but embrace healthy fats from olive oil, avocados, nuts, seeds, and fatty fish. Full-fat dairy products in moderation are far superior to fat-free versions for nutrient absorption. Your body needs fat to function properly, and trying to eliminate it completely creates more problems than it solves. Protein powders and high-protein bars. The kidney burden. The fitness industry has successfully convinced many seniors that they need supplemental protein to prevent muscle loss. Walk through any pharmacy or health food store, and you'll see protein powders, bars, and shakes targeted at active seniors and marketed as essential for maintaining muscle mass. While protein is indeed important for seniors, the high-concentration protein supplements can create serious problems, particularly for kidney function. Let me explain the kidney issue first, because it's the most serious concern. Your kidneys filter your blood constantly, removing waste products including the breakdown products of protein metabolism, primarily urea and creatinine. Kidney function naturally declines with age. By age 70, the average person has lost 30 to 40% of their kidney filtration capacity compared to age 30. This is a normal part of aging, but it means your kidneys have less reserve capacity to handle metabolic stress. When you consume very high amounts of protein, especially from concentrated sources like protein powders, you force your kidneys to work harder to eliminate the nitrogen waste products. For kidneys that are already functioning at reduced capacity, this additional burden can accelerate the progression of kidney disease. I had a patient, George, a 74-year-old retired construction worker, who was determined to stay strong in his retirement. He began consuming 2 protein shakes daily, each containing 40 grams of protein, plus a high-protein bar for a snack, in addition to his regular meals. His total daily protein intake was approximately 180 grams, more than twice what he needed. At his annual physical, routine blood work showed his creatinine level had increased significantly, and his estimated glomerular filtration rate, eGFR, a measure of kidney function, had dropped into the stage 3 chronic kidney disease range. He had no other risk factors for kidney disease, no diabetes, well-controlled blood pressure, no family history. The high protein intake was the only identifiable cause. I explained the situation and recommended he eliminate the protein supplements and reduce his protein intake to about 0.8 to 1.0 grams per kilogram of body weight, about 70 grams daily for him. He was resistant at first, worried about losing muscle. But the fear of kidney failure was more compelling. Within 6 months, his creatinine improved, and his kidney function stabilized. He lost no noticeable muscle mass. The research on this is clear. While adequate protein is important for maintaining muscle mass in seniors, and protein requirements may actually increase slightly with age, there's no evidence that consuming protein far above recommended levels provides additional benefit. The optimal protein intake for most seniors is approximately 1.0 to 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight daily. For a 150-pound person, that's about 68 to 82 grams of protein per day, easily achievable through regular meals without supplements.